And we are live. I'm Indy Nidell, as I suppose all of you know, and this is a World War II in real time and Hearts of Iron special live stream broadcast. Now, they came out with a new DLC for Hearts of Iron 4 called No Step Back a few days ago on the 23rd. And we are going to play that and see how it works out compared to what actually happened in real life on the Eastern Front, or the southern part of the Eastern Front, in December 1942, January 1943. And with me, and the people that are going to play this, is Sitsa, who does our Instagram day-by-day coverage of the war. Sitsa, please say howdy.
Hello, hello.
That wasn't howdy, that was hello, hello. And now, Sitsa, who are you going to be playing?
Yes, I'll be playing as the Soviets. I'll be checking the southern front mostly. We'll talk about that soon. But yeah, the Soviets, that's my army.
Okay, now, and opposing you then will be the Axis powers controlled by Ian Sowden, who has been doing our community management for the last few months. Ian, why don't you say howdy, and say howdy to everybody.
Howdy, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna be the Axis. You're gonna be mainly German, but you're gonna have some Romanians and maybe Italians and Hungarians and stuff like that. Yeah.
That is going to be the case. Obviously, I myself am not German or a Nazi, but I will be playing them for this historical simulation as a little educational exercise here.
Well, I mean, Sitsa is he's a full-blooded Bolshevik comrade, though, so he's just playing his natural thing, right?
This is my thing. Yeah, these are my usual weekends. Part-time Bolshevist. Yeah.
Part-time.
Actually, when Sitsa isn't working at Time Ghost, he's actually organizing the Dawn Front, I believe.
And purges. He organizes purges as well.
Oh yes, yeah, that's my specialty. Yeah. I run
now, why don't we put on some of the game so we're not just on this starter stage? Why don't we put on, since we are going to run Operation Little Saturn that started in mid-December 1942, which was a Soviet thing. But before that, we're going to do the German counterattack semi-relief attempt to relieve the surrounded troops of Stalingrad, Operation Winter Storm. So let's put on the German screen, okay, the Axis screen. Now, right. Ian, why don't you tell everybody what they're looking at and how things work? Explain a little bit about the dynamics of the game, because we've got a lot of people here who have never played this game before, never seen this game before. So now it's your turn to shine.
Well, it all looks a little bit complicated at first sight, but the most basic thing is that we are currently looking at a map. We're looking at a map of the southern part of the Soviet Union. You can see over here in gray, you have the Germans. In red, you have the Soviets. And this is a mostly historically accurate kind of front line we've created about how things looked in the Soviet Union, in the southern area around Stalingrad in 1942. Now you can look over here and you can see we
interrupt you for just a second. Just so people know, when I go like this, it's because I have another monitor there so I can see things a little bigger and stuff. So it's not like I'm being distracted. I'm actually looking at the game when I look over there. And when I look like this, I have a channel open. We have, I'm getting a bunch of your comments and stuff forwarded to me by our kind interns. So if you have any questions and things you want answered, send them in, and sometime during this incredibly exciting broadcast, I will hopefully find the time to squeeze in the answers to your questions. Right? Carry on, Ian.
Yeah. So that's the basics we have over here, obviously on the look. Now, if I zoom in a little bit, we can see all the way down to the kind of divisional level. And this is, roughly speaking, how German forces were ordered in that moment in November, December.
Now, you set these up for yourself, or does the game set them up? You know, how does the setup work for this, just for people who've never played?
The game will usually start you in 1936, and it will give you a very kind of basic map, and it's up to you to spawn these divisions, deploy these divisions, equip these divisions, and put them in the places you want them put. So Sitsa and I spent a lot of time setting this up.
So you set this up, and I see you are there in Stalingrad with General Jose Paulus, animal rights activist, yeah?
That is indeed the case. If you look down over here, we can actually see the different generals, different field marshals, and I've just selected over here in the bottom of the screen, General Jose Paulus himself, animal rights activist, and we can see all of his divisions under his command right here in Stalingrad.
Can you zoom in on Stalingrad a little closer just for a minute?
I can get in. That's about the closest I'm able to get right there.
I'm gonna turn Slack off on the computer so I don't suddenly keep getting all those things.
Oh, right, and Indy, I just also want to say we got a super chat over here, so maybe we should just give this a quick readout if we'd like. This is over on YouTube. It's coming from Hot Creamy Fart, which is a very flattering name, I think, for a YouTube account. And he sent in $5. And he said,
We've just
"Thank you,
wait. The
Woodward."
last 2 episodes, we've done jokes about Operation Uranus, so you know, it's pot calling the kettle black to make fun of somebody. So
Yeah.
okay, what do they want to know?
They just wanted to say, I'll read this out now. Thank you, WW2 crew, for providing historical nuggets I can use to sound smarter than I actually am in petty workplace arguments.
And I wonder if they introduced themselves by their name in petty workplace arguments. But I'm sure they're listening now. But I think your name is just fine, just as fine as Operation Uranus, right? Okay, so that is Stalingrad. That's Paulus and his gang. So what kind of divisions do you have here? How do you see the different divisions?
Well, you can just kind of list them over here on the side. So just if you follow my mouse scrolling down, this is all of the 6th Army that we've set up, and you can see each individual division. Now, we haven't given them historical names because that would take years and years, but we've got a few infantry divisions. They're marked by this green helmet here. We have a few panzer divisions. They're marked by this little tank right here. And then we have a few motorized divisions, and they're marked by the truck, obviously.
Okay, well, now go over your general defense setup, and then we'll turn it over to Seatsa, or your general attack setup, and we'll turn it over to Seatsa, and he can talk about his defenses a little bit. If you want to zoom out and show where you...
I'm sure Stavka would like to know all of my plans, but I'm not going to give it to them. But just a little bit of a kind of basic
What can you see?
Here.
What can you see of each other's screen, of each other's plans?
Well, right now we're looking at my screen, and you can see Soviet forces on the front line. They're just about visible over here. But anything particularly far back, I haven't got the reconnaissance to really understand or see what's happening there. So what I can see of Sitse and the Soviet side is really just a few of these, you know, frontline troops and how many divisions are on the border.
So you don't know where he's in strength. You don't know where Romanenko's 5th Tank Army is, for example.
I do not. And in fact, I don't know where any of the Soviet generals or general staff are actually located right now. I can just see where the divisions are.
Because we've made this pretty close to history in early December 1942, but you guys, as you know, Uber commanders, are going to make your own changes, right? So can we go over to Zita so he can talk about his defenses a little bit?
Yes.
So
are you seeing my? Yes, it's a lot of colors, a lot to look at. This is of course in the wake of Operation Uranus. So our units are a bit all over the place. They met up over here. So you see here parts of the 5th Tank Army, which you can see on the right over here, or on the left, I should say.
But it's not run by Romanenko. You got Popov running it, right?
No, that's
am I correct?
that is correct. Popov did not lead the 5th Tank Army in this initial phase. I'm quite sure.
But he did eventually. He was running the 5th Shock Army at this point.
So that's why our friend Popov is over here, and he is was subordinate to this southwestern front under Nikolai Vatutin. He has another army under him, which you are sure is also not historically correct, because Vlasov is over here.
Yeah, but you get to choose the generals that you want to run your armies, right?
Yeah. So I can of course click him. I just pulled all the infantry of the southwestern front into like one army.
Oh yeah, okay. See you there.
So that's why I chose one. And I chose Vlasov because I thought he deserved a second chance. I think he's the right one.
Well, I wonder if the longtime viewers of our channel agree. You know, some of those guys you think they deserve a second chance, and some of those guys not so much. But sure. But Vlasov, he wasn't completely incompetent. No, as some were. I mean, you know, right now, a little further north along the lines, you've got on the Voronezh front, like Philip Golikov is running the Voronezh front, and while he does an okay job of it in this winter, Golikov's track record is abysmal for ignoring intelligence and just telling Stalin he wants to hear. So you've got guys like that, you know, which is going to sabotage some of your... Pardon?
Yeah, he's with us over here on the front line. He's at Voronezh.
Well, in January 1943 was when they, really got going. You know, when they took Voronezh and spoilers and stuff. I'm sure we'll see them eventually, but we're not starting there. We're starting further down on the front.
No, of course. So they're on my northern flank. Here's the southwestern front under Vatutin. I've put Rokossovsky's Don front around Stalingrad now to give some kind of unified command there. So they're still redeploying, just sitting them out. They're not attacking just yet. They're moving around. We're just sitting them off. My plan is to hold off the Germans from relieving, starve them out, and then attack when they're weakened far enough.
That seems like a pretty good
plan indeed.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't hear that. Down here is the Stalingrad front under Yeremenko.
Yeah,
he's holding my my center, obviously. And if we take the Caucasus within calculation, here we have the Transcaucasian front under our the finest mustache of the Eastern Front.
Unquestionably the finest mustache. With a mustache like that, you have to be in command. That's just the way it is, right?
Obviously, yeah. And he is.
That's not. Sorry.
Yeah, over here we have I've taken some historical liberties here. I've created like a cavalry corps under Gorbatov to counter the first Panzer army over here from the Germans.
Okay.
So yeah, we might use them, we might not. For now, our eyes are here.
So the Germans have Kleist, and they got Ruoff's 17th Army down in the Caucasus towards the coast and everything. Well, we'll worry about them later. We're gonna start with Operation Winter Storm, which was the Wintergewitter, was the German relief and help break out effort towards Stalingrad. It was launched by the new Dawn Army Group Dawn under control of Erich von Manstein on December 12th, 1942. So back to the German page, yes?
That sounds good with me.
And Ian, now you can tell everybody what you're planning to do and how you do it so they get an idea of how this game is controlled. Because, those little boxes that come on the screen, just so everybody knows, every time it comes over a division, it tells you information about it. So it's not like a bunch of commands that you're just missing if you haven't played this before. So.
Yeah, exactly. So these, for example, now let's scroll in a little bit. Excuse me. So if I zoom in a little bit here and I'm hovering over, you guys see I have this black box here. Now I'm not sure, depending on people's internet quality, how much I can read, but this is giving me information about the divisions in this area, about the terrain, about the weather, and all sorts of things like that. So those black boxes you see scrolling up on the screen, that's what's happening when we go around. But Indy, you're asking me about my plan. Well, as you can see, we have over here Field Marshal Erich von Manstein, and he has formed Army Group Dawn, where he is commanding Army Group Dawn. And this is really where I think some of my strongest forces are. So if I zoom in, you can see I've got a few tanks over here. I've got some motorized divisions. I've got some Romanian infantry supporting me here in the north. And you can see all of those little divisions in those boxes right down there in the green. Now, I don't want to tell Daddy Stalin over here on the other side too much of what I'm going to do.
What you're going to do. Can you go a little south, just like one block south?
Yeah.
A little bit. Because now so Kotelnikovo is somewhere, it's just south of where the red and the blue lines meet and stuff. And that's where that was a launching point for the actual Winter Storm. So how do you start? How do you start your attacks? And should he talk about his defense, or are we going to wait to see a surprise where he's put the 5th tank, where he's put the 5th shock, where the second guards are, where the first guards are?
Well, I'll give him a little rundown of what I know, and he can give me a little rundown of what he knows. But I think the nitty-gritty we'll get into while we're playing. But I'm going to use these tanks that I've listed over here, all along the Dawn front, and I'm going to use them to kind of pierce through a lot of these seemingly quite weak Soviet infantry divisions. Now, I could go, and the shortest path would probably be to Stalingrad, to go straight through this forest over here.
Which is what they did try. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm not too sure if that was the ideal thing to do, because of course this kind of foresty area over here, it's going to be a little bit easier to defend. There's going to be a little bit more cover for Soviet infantry. So I'm going to actually attack over here across the plains instead, because they're going to find it a lot more difficult to hold.
Very important question.
Yeah.
Are you going to have Paulus's forces try to break out from Stalingrad at the same time, or are you just going to attack to relieve them yourself?
I think I want to save their strength and supplies as much as possible. I don't want to risk using them up in a breakout attack, so I'm just going to be attacking straight in and hope that we're able to reach them in time.
You also know that
if it comes down to... Sorry?
Go ahead. It's okay. Go
No,
ahead.
I was going to say I may, if it comes down to just a matter of maybe a few more troops could win the battle, then I may throw in a few at the last minute, but I'm going to try to avoid that at all costs.
Well, also they're moving about as fast as they can walk, since they don't really have enough gasoline for their vehicles, and they've sent away, as we talked about in the promotion video to this, that they've sent away 75 of the 95,000 horses. So if they'd have to literally walk to meet you, if they wanted to. Okay, so how does this go then? Tell the world how this goes.
Yeah, should we unpause then?
Real quick, before we maybe unpause, I just wanted to maybe read out a few more of these super chats we have over here.
Okay, because I'm on Slack if you want things sent to me, if you have an intern sending me something, but go ahead and read some, sure.
Actually, if you like, I can send them over to your private messages in Slack if you want.
Okay, I can open that. I've got it on my phone next to me, so.
Here we go.
I had it open.
So I'm going to send them. There's one that we've got.
Well, Moro says, thanks for years of history content. Well, that's what we do. I think we have more years. I like the idea of convincing myself that I really don't know how the Second World War ends, so that doing the research for this, it's not a surprise, but it's more surprising, especially to see, like, I didn't know we have so much coming up about Tunisia in January, February, March, April, May of 1943, and I really knew nothing about how important the Tunisian campaign was, and how, if it could have been avoided, it would have been a shorter war. And when you think of how many people, die each day and each week and each month, that's pretty sad. Anyhow, you carry on. Let's see. Scott Weber loves the new DLC. He's been playing all week. Dreamcast night. Who dares wins. John Burns. How far back are you guys willing to go in terms of historical wars after World War II? Are you going to the Napoleonic era, the War of 1812? You got to remember, we illustrate these wars with films and photos and things like that. Even in the Great War, even though when we were doing the Great War, we had the British Pathé Film Archive, which is the world's largest archive of World War I videos, but it's still only 2,000 total films, and they didn't have sound. We had to add any sounds. You go back before that, there's no films and there's no photos when you go back before. So it's a lot harder to keep it, you want to edit it to keep it dynamic and exciting. I know, like, watching me talk is incredibly exciting, but 15 minutes of that, even I get tired of that without something coming in. Probably shouldn't say that. Anyhow, back to the game. Having said that, I would like to do some of those earlier wars, but I would, as a lot of people know, the war in real time is the Korean War. Doing it the way we do it, especially with the experience from doing both of the world wars, I think we'd be in a position that we could do it way better than we could have had we done it like 5 or 6 years ago. The experience of putting this chronological history thing together really adds up. So back to you, Ian.
Back to me. Well, let me just take a look over here, and we're looking at my screen. Really quickly, looking at the chats, I've seen that a lot of the people in the chat are asking what our division templates look like. So obviously I've shown we have all these tanks, all these motorized and things like that. But what do those tank divisions and motorized divisions actually look like underneath? And so in Hearts of Iron, you come up to your Recruit and Deploy tab here in the top left, and then you can go, you have all your division templates listed here. You can press Edit, and you can see what those look like. Now, we've just decided, for the sake of simplicity, not to really do any complicated edits. So we just have a few different brigades over here of regular infantry and a support company of engineers. That's for everybody asking in the chat.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now, that's really comprehensive. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very immersive game, you could say. But going into the battle, I think it might be time to get off to the races and unpause over here.
Okay, so you're going to unpause, and your guys are going to they're going to launch hell against the Soviets.
Yeah, Sitze, you feel free to unpause. I just hope you're ready for it.
Okay,
I'm attacking over here.
I have the initiative, right?
Nice. Hope you do. I hope you do. I'm attacking here in the north.
The game moves that, right? You can make it slow-mo or super fast-mo, yeah. So
you can go several days at a time if you really like. I think for the sake of all the new folks watching this game and all the people who aren't quite used to it, we're just going to go take it nice and slow and easy.
So you're going to attack at dawn or what?
Yes, I am. Let's see. It doesn't seem that my forces, maybe they're having a mutiny of some sort. They don't seem to want to listen to my attack orders. So I'm going to try and create a front line over here that they can attack across instead. Oh,
okay.
But it seems like they've gone off. There was a bit of a radio delay in communications, but now they're attacking south of Stalingrad.
Yeah.
We can see over here there's 10 Soviet divisions that are currently being attacked by
the 51st or 57th Soviet, 51st Army. Yeah, 51st Soviet Army. That's where they were. No. That's what it was.
Down here. With your internet, so where it's a bit choppy, but it's going again now. Yeah. Just
okay, and give us some play-by-play results so that I can give better play-by-play results. So for maybe it's not obvious to everybody what's happening. Yeah.
Exactly. So right now there hasn't been much movement. It seems that the attack here in the south against the 10 Soviet divisions guarding the southern part of Stalingrad has failed. But up here at the north, we have some fighting for the railways, and it looks like our forces are attacking without any serious problems, taking this railway, and that's going to help us relieve the supply situation in Stalingrad, because the railways are obviously going.
Stitze, can I ask you just a question which is spoil your defense, but who cares? Where do you have the 5th Tank Army?
They're currently still in the northern wing, so I wanted to push on towards the Don, do like a variant on Saturn, but it looks like we've been beaten to it by Munstein's Don. Don.
Can we change to your screen and see what's going on with you guys? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
this is my setup. It looks like we're being attacked over here along the railway. It's not going too great. We're losing the battle. But
so who do you have defending there? Which armies and which divisions?
Currently, it's the Southwestern Front and the armor of the 5th Tank Army. They're right now redeploying on this northern part of the Don.
Okay.
I'm a bit anxious about my southern flank over here. I was expecting an attack along the plains. It hasn't come yet, so I can keep my armor up here and delay his attack on Stalingrad.
It's minus degrees and the steppe is featureless. People get that attack might have gotten lost. That's you don't know what direction you're going on a featureless steppe when it's just snow and minus degrees. I likely would not have attacked across there. Where do you have the first and third guards? You got a little further north, I guess. Where's the second?
Southwestern.
Where do you have the second guards, or do you have them yet? Because they were formed really later. So
yeah, they're the second guards army. Well, they're under the Southwestern Front, aren't they?
That's up to you. You're the boss.
I haven't actually created a guards army. You can if you make like an elite division. I haven't done that.
I would suggest doing it at some point because the first, second, and third guards armies were those played a big role in Saturn and stuff, and the fighting on the Cheer, where your little the green arrow there and stuff. That area is just to the right of there. Just across the Don, where the area that the Germans, the Axis hold, those two little things just across there, those are very, very important for you to take, because then you'll prevent jumping off points for any relief expedition against Stalingrad. So are you counterattacking, or are you just doing a passive defense, or what do you do?
I am pinning down the surviving Romanian divisions up here, but the Germans are attacking still along the railway. It's a bit of a desperate situation, but we're holding.
Okay.
You can see if I click on the battle here, you see like an overview of who's facing who. So you see here that Hermann Hoff is attacking, and it's against Andrei Vlasov.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
through the plains.
Hoff did not attack that far, not that far into the northwest. Hoth was running what was left of 4th Panzers and the Romanian Corps and stuff he'd put together. He was doing the stuff in the field, but he was attacking further to the southeast than Ian is attacking with. So this should be very interesting to see what actually develops, right?
It is, yes. But for now, it's just we can see what tactic he's using. We're delaying his advance with Vlasov in the fields. We see some divisions in reserve over here, but he does as well, and their strength is way up.
Okay.
So there's a lot of information to look at here, a lot of stats, a lot of maths, calculating who should be winning the battle. But right now I am being beaten.
Okay. What are you doing? Are you putting in reserves or something? Or are you just letting it go?
I'm just letting it go because my reserves are already on the very tile. You can see them down here. They can jump into the battle
okay, sure.
if needed.
That's what you see on the defense screen.
And for now, I'm just going to keep up the pressure in the north here as well against the Romanians. Attacks are not going as well. You see that the bubble is red and very low. So that's now turning green, which means I'm in favor. Now it's yellow. It's a stalemate. So we're really going back and forth over here. But we are in quite a deadlock right now.
Yeah.
Ian, are you?
You've only got one guy there.
Is your internet doing all right? Because you're lagging behind sometimes.
It seems to be coming in and out a little bit. But you know what? I'm going to close the live stream chat, so I won't be able to moderate that. But we've got Nick, our intern, watching over that, and hopefully that'll help us.
Is he gonna write to me on the Slack, the live stream channel? Yes, that would be best.
He should be private messaging you.
Why doesn't he put it on the HOI Paradox channel? Okay, he can live messaging me is fine. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you guys? You're just sitting pat in the Caucasus. Nobody's attacking this week in the Caucasus, or what?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about right now, because my strength is of my cavalry corps down here is up quite well, and we can see that our intelligence is showing that the Germans are down quite in strength. So I might put up the pressure here and divert some of his forces from Stalingrad. I've drawn a battle plan over here. This is the big yellow arrow. This is just a not too ambitious push, but it is through favorable country, through the plains over here.
When you think about it.
Although the Terek is quite an obstacle, if he stands behind that, we might be halted in our tracks. But for now,
well, in real life, they can only stand behind it until late December, and they realized they could not spend the whole winter on the Terek without getting slaughtered. So that's how it worked in real life. Let's see if you're as good as real life.
Let's head over to the attack. So I'm gonna select my 2 panzer divisions down here, or my tank divisions.
I'm getting nervous.
And I'm just gonna right-click here, and you see we're massively in advantage because their strength is all the way down. Might throw in some cavalry as well. They can
again, you have that the river is a great natural defense, though, and it is Mackensen, Eberhard von Mackensen too. So
yes. Yeah, well, either way, if we reach the river, we have better defenses. It looks like the Germans are trying to pin us down with counterattacks on the flanks. They are not succeeding. You see that they are falling back. I think
Steiner's counterattack here is going to fix everything, so I'm not too concerned about any issues we might be having. This is all just
I want to see this attack get going. Let's see you guys start this one off.
And it looks like the German strength up here is now also spent, so I'm going to extend the offensive.
Looks like
these infantry formations.
We've had a bit of a breakthrough here. The situation's a little bit critical for the Germans right now, but we're going to make sure to hold our positions and try to contain the Soviets as best as we can.
I'm going to try and push across the river to create a bridgehead, so they can't establish any defenses on the river.
Right, and that's exactly what would have suggested that. Great, okay.
And I'm going to pin down.
I also just want to let Sitze know, it looks like we've got a bit more of a stable connection. It looks like the stream was using up a lot of bandwidth, but we're good now.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm across the river, which is great. I might actually be able to encircle some divisions.
Yeah, see, that's the goal. Yeah.
We have to see how that plays out, but they're withdrawing now. If I push on, I might be able to catch bigger fish. I'm also exposing myself to counterattacks by advancing just one division.
And Kleist and Mackensen, those guys know how to fight. Just so you know, man, they're not.
They've seen some stuff.
They're not Golikovs. They've seen some stuff. Yeah. This is exciting. Cool.
I've completed research now. I'm gonna stall that for now because I'm busy looking at this attack. But we're well across the river.
It does seem like the Soviets may have overextended themselves here in the south. They're completely undefended in their rear, so an intelligent German general might try to take advantage of that, but we'll see what can happen.
Where is? Do you have Maslennikov's northern group further to the west, or where? I'm just thinking of your forces along the west there against Ruoff. They're
On
just
the
holding
They're just
Novorossiysk.
holding. Yeah, the terrain is
Yeah.
not really in our favor over here. I'm
Yeah,
currently
yeah, yeah.
going very deep with my tanks here, but I've created a big salient, which I'm not sure I should be too happy about. But I'm pinning down some divisions
Yeah.
over here, so I might sweep inwards and complete the encirclement. I have
If you
some
can do
forces
that,
down here.
that would be something. Now, how is this affecting your deployments further north, Ian? Are you thinking of diverting anything from the concurrent attacks to the north, or what?
To be honest, I'm becoming ever so slightly nervous looking at this situation right now. I have quite a long stretch of troops here in the Caucasus Mountain ranges trying to hold down the area from Novorossiysk all the way down to Grozny. But it looks like this Soviet spearhead over here could really make that a complicated situation. So
You've
much
got a
like
lot
the
of guys in a what could be a pocket there.
I
Yeah.
do
Over here,
indeed.
yes.
So
Well, there and to the south, you got two of them. I mean, it depends which way you want to go.
this is no doubt reminding Sitze of a few games we've played together actually in the past. Maybe he's been similarly as effective as routing my
An all too
forces.
familiar scene, I hear.
What's going on up on the Don? What's going up on towards Stalingrad?
Yeah, I'm checking a half fleet there because we've been pushed back somewhat towards Stalingrad. It looks like the Germans are not diverting their forces as we had hoped. So I am gonna halt the offensive in the south once this pocket is completed and shift my attention there to fix the situation, because we want to hold the Stalingrad pocket at all costs.
Yeah.
It looks like we have actually eliminated this pocket over here.
Great. Cool.
I'm gonna
Well
hold
done.
my positions, consolidate. We have a bridgehead. You can see
And
that
these,
the
they're
Caucasus
stuck in
is
that
exposed.
salient too, just to the south there. So you're on the across the Terek in general. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not gonna push on through this hilly terrain over here in the mountains.
They look pretty
I'm just
strong
gonna-
there. So
Yeah, they're well fortified. I'm gonna leave them there, consolidate, and then check back north because Caucasus, I mean, the Stalingrad is now almost relieved. I have to do something about this.
yeah.
There's
Are
just
you
one
gonna-
tile separating the pocket now.
Can you commit
And this-
any troops from further north, from the Voronezh front or the Bryansk front, which
There are
were
some
going to
units
be
over
used
there.
for other things later? But I mean, can you commit them now to preserve the Stalingrad pocket?
I can transfer some units, but I'm first going to try and open the attack on Stalingrad itself. See if I can
Okay. All
reduce
right.
the
Yeah.
pocket.
To eliminate the pocket. Great. Yep.
And see if I can make it deeper. So if we can take this region just west of Stalingrad, there's
Or you
more
can cut 'em in
area
half, too.
separating the two.
Now they did
Yeah, although
actually. The
that's-
Stalingrad pocket was cut in half at the very end in late January 1943, when it was, it was shrunk to two small pockets in the city, with Paulus in one and Strecker in the north, and then
yeah.
the southern one actually split in two. But that was way later. You're way before this. So let's
Yeah,
see
and
what you can do.
in the game, Stalingrad, it's just one tile, so it's you can't really separate the city into two. And they're well fortified in the city as well. It gives you a defensive bonus when you're in a city.
Right.
You can see it reduces air support as well by 50%. Well, because of the cover provided by the buildings.
But of course,
So
they
I'm
had
gonna-
that same problem when they were attacking you too, last month, when you were in
Yeah.
Stalingrad.
Yeah, you can't actually
Yeah.
see it, but we should actually still have a bridgehead over here, of course, on the bank.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But
You are on the dock.
I
I
can't
think
see that in the game right now.
here in the southern Caucasus region, what I'm going to try to do is see if my troops can be kind of freshly supplied and see if we can get some better supplies over here while they kind of reorganize.
How does one do that? How do you supply them?
Well, you see over here, we've got this railway leading all the way up, and it's going down to supply hubs in
Rostov.
Rostov and Krasnodar.
I should probably
And
switch to the
so-
German perspective.
Oh,
Yes,
we're on the
already.
German perspective, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So from what we can see over here down in the south, while the Soviets have been able to make a lot of headway, you can see over here by Ilitsa, this is all just plains. And if they overextend themselves too much, we do still have some tanks over here in the south that could really punch through.
That's
and
that's
create some
Mackinson
kind of-
there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mackinson. And so that's exactly what I'm going to try do. I might be being a little bit preemptive because we haven't really got the full supplies for it. But given how critical the situation is looking, I think it's our only option. So I'm attacking now straight toward the
Okay.
north over here. And
And
then
you're carrying
over
on
here in
Manstein's attacks
Stalingrad,
here.
Manstein's attack seemed to be going extremely successful. Now, if we're
Well,
able
it's
to
interesting
capture
because you
this
attacked
tile,
further north. Sorry, Ian, you attacked further northwest than Operation Give It did attack. These where you're fighting, where the Don and the Cheer rivers meet each other and stuff. That was areas that the Soviets were doing a good job in early December of holding and blocking and taking to Ryshovsky and eventually down to Tormosin and Kotelnikovo. So you are attacking. You're northwestern attack from what Manstein had ordered. So it's interesting to see how this works, pushing back
yeah.
along the Pure River and north of the Don instead of south and east of the Don.
It is a very kind of interesting situation we have here. I think what's really making this very successful is there's an important supply corridor, this railway that you see coming along here.
Yeah, sure.
On the
Which that was
side.
very much denied to you guys in real life. So.
Exactly. So fortunately, we still have this open, and I think that's really helping us a lot. You can see the Soviets, they're suffering from a lot of attrition. They've got a lot of exclamation points around their divisions, and so our intelligence is suggesting that we could actually be quite successful there. Now, I did try attacking here in the south, and I'm going to keep doing that, but it seems to be hitting more of a brick wall. I can't seem to really break through the way that I was hoping I would be able to. So let's hope that this in the north kind of changes things up a little bit.
Now, Zitsa, are you considering, say, a month early, are you considering already launching Voronezh or Bryansk front attacks against the Hungarian Second Army or the Italian Corps further north? Or you want to wait and see how things play out before doing that, which is what happened in real life?
Well, for now, I'm a bit worried about von Manstein's attack on the northern bank of the Don towards Stalingrad. Yeah. If anything, I should maybe divert divisions there. Although the supply situation is, as Ian pointed out, quite bad. It's dark red over here. We, of course, still don't have control over the railway. I'm building some supply hubs behind the front line to try and fix the situation. Yeah. But they still have to be gathered and prepared. So for now, it's really just throwing in men in front of von Manstein and see if we can hold this corridor, separating the pockets. I'm also now opening the attack on the pocket itself.
Yeah, cool.
Try and get these guys back into the city.
And what is the time scale you're using? How long does a day take right now? I mean, because you can change the setting. How long is that? Do you have it set for?
Yeah, we have currently
every second is going.
Speed,
every second is about 1 hour in game time. But all that being said, Indy, I'm actually getting a few messages from Spartacus, and he's sending his love and support over to us over here. And he's also asking if there are some interesting answers we have to the questions coming in here in the
I haven't been sent
chat.
anything at all on Slack, so there's probably lots of questions coming in, but nobody has sent me any of them. My Slack is open on the phone right here, so I can't answer questions that I do.
I'm going to send you forward some right now. Let me see if I can copy and paste these over here. But we also just want to take this time to say that we're just so happy for all of you guys tuning in over here. Obviously, it melts our heart that there's so many of you that have been so excited for us to play this game for such a long time.
I don't have a frozen heart. It doesn't melt my heart, but it makes my heart feel good. Ian, of course, has a frozen heart, living in Canada. Canada, as he does.
I found that actually really interesting. After my kind of introduction video came out at the Time Goes Breakfast Club or Brunch Club, I was obviously introduced as Ian from Canada. Now, I've only actually spent about 2 years of my life living in Canada. But in the comment section, it seemed that people thought I was as Canadian as maple syrup. And I had people telling me that I looked more Canadian than anyone they'd ever met, that our channel is Canadian biased because of my presence on it, and I found that quite funny.
The thing is, Ian,
but
you're zealous.
I've just sent you some Slack messages too.
Yeah, I mean, my Slack's open. If you send me things, I will answer them.
They just come into your private messages.
No. Oh, hang on, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Sure. I see. Okay, so, yep. Sparty wrote to me, you might want to fix your collar. That's a private message. I thought I'd just fix it. I probably shouldn't have read it out loud, but you know how these things go. Okay. Fans are asking for a Wojtek the Bear episode, Nick wrote to me. That's cool. Show the template for divisions. When will they get a ROM bio? Yeah. How effective you think Torch was to defer resources meant for Stalingrad? In terms of planes, particularly transport planes, it was very effective. Although you can't really say that was an overriding goal. But once the race to Tunisia was to take Tunisia was super important in November and December 1942. And the Germans just pumped men and planes from Stalingrad, all those transport planes over, and even brought some down from Norway, from as far as Norway. So that was particularly aerial resources. All those planes were taken away from Stalingrad that would definitely have been helpful in supplying Jose Paulus, animal rights activist, and his men with food and supplies. Are there going to be any more Time Ghost meetups like in Verdun, or has COVID variant 94, it's in Roman numerals, so it took me a sec to read it, ruined it all? Spartacus asks you to fix your collar. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we obviously we want to have fan meetups when we can have fan meetups. I mean, definitely next summer. I'm going to keep doing this every 2 or 3 minutes for the rest of the show. When we're filming the D-Day, the 24-hour D-Day stuff, we'll be filming that next July is planned in Normandy, and we'll obviously have to have fan meetings then. I'm assuming that life will not be shut down as it is shut down now, but what do I know? It's been a shame that we haven't been able to have them, because those were one of my favorite parts of the Great War. Some of you guys out there might have been to one or another of them. We had them everywhere. We had them in England and France and Belgium and Germany and Slovenia and Italy, and they were great in Ukraine, in Poland. It was pretty impressive. Let's see, I got some things. A special on the Spanish Blue Division would be nice to see. We don't do specials on individual units, the same as we don't do specials on individual battles. More explanation of the Spanish Blue Division would be nice to see on Out of the Foxholes. That's somewhere where we could do some more explaining and stuff. And that's also somewhere, I write the regular episodes. I do the research and writing for that. And the specials are written, are researched by some of our guys and some different experts in their fields. Out of the Foxholes is where we actually let our interns really get a chance to do their first, for us, research and writing and stuff. And then, we go through and fact check and edit stuff. So that would be great. Somebody should complain on timeghost.tv that we really need to talk more about the Spanish Blue Division on Out of the Foxholes, because that would be great to talk about just this winter, right? Let's see, what else? Is Indy going to do some extra special episodes or a mini sort of Pearl Harbor style series on the invasion of Italy? Don't actually, I'm not going to do spoilers and tell you when it happens. We don't have anything specific planned for that, since realistically we have to focus first on shooting all the stuff for D-Day, because that needs to be edited in a year and a half, and it's going to take like 9 or 10 months to edit all that stuff. So it's got to be shot well in advance. Doing extra stuff for the invasion of Italy, like maybe not a full thing like the Pearl Harbor thing, but doing some extra regular episodes like we did with Stalingrad or with Midway, that is much more conceivable. And that would be something I should discuss with Marcus Lincoln. Marcus, he wrote like the extra Stalingrad episode and the traffic jam episode that came out in late July. I'll get back to that in a minute. I want to see, how's it going with the war here, guys?
Yeah, there have been
it's
some
become a little bit
developments.
problematic.
What?
Down in the Caucasus, you can see here that I've done a local push and encircled 2 divisions.
Yeah.
We've pushed along the Terek bank.
Yeah.
Well, and shut the door behind them. So that's a small tactical victory over there. By now, the fight is expanded along the entire Stalingrad front, and the pocket has been reduced to just the city. So they are far away from home now.
Okay.
And I've
cool.
opened the attacks on the Hungarians up here with just infantry attacks. They began as spinning down attacks, but they're right now gaining quite some ground. So yeah, positive on my side.
And what are you?
I'm becoming pretty concerned. I'm trying to reach the Don River, as I have been since these attacks began. And while I have been successful in kind of making headway in the battle here in the north. Like Sitse said, the Stalingrad pocket has actually been significantly shrunk, and so now it's really only in the core of the city itself that I'm actually getting that kind of concentration of troops.
So
now down in the south,
attacks were successful. Yes. So,
it looks like Roxo's attacks were successful.
Yeah, and in the south,
up here in the north, I'm very, very concerned about the situation right now with my Hungarian troops. It looks like the Soviets are decimating them. They're breaking through. So I've actually gone ahead to Army Group North over here, and I've diverted an entire army down to try and reinforce these lines. But I'm worried that they won't be as organized and supplied as they need to be to really prevent this from happening. So
how long does it take for the army? How long does it take for the army to go south all the way to Milarovo?
It's going to take a couple of days. They're being redeployed along the railway over here. Right now, they're just about around Voronezh. So I'm hoping that the first kind of reinforcements will begin arriving some point in the next, maybe in real life time, 5 minutes or so.
Okay, so we've just told the Soviet Union that you're withdrawing troops from around Voronezh, right?
Yes, we have indeed told that. I hope the Soviet Union
just submitted a report about some movement from past Voronezh. Yeah.
It seems like Soviet intelligence.
You didn't hear it yet, so.
Yeah. Well, there is the old saying that loose lips sink ships. So I think I might take that to heart in the remainder of my coverage, but we'll see how that goes.
Let's see. Greetings from Finland. Have you considered making an episode on Lauri Torni, the man of three armies? If you go to the Sabaton History channel, which I hosted that together with Sabaton, it's a channel they made about all their songs. They had a song, Soldier of Three Armies. We did not one, not two, but 3 episodes about Lauri Torni there. So no, we will not be covering him on World War II in real time because we have already covered him extensively. But everybody should go check out the Soldier of Three Armies episodes, which we had the interview part where I talked to Per or Joachim. That was right during Corona, and Per was he was stuck in Moscow. He was trapped there, and while we were talking to him, there's people coming down the sides of his building. He's like, well, looks like it's the secret police, and it was you should check it out. Good episodes. Not the best video quality because everything was over the internet and it was Corona, but that we had to do things emergency style there. You guys want to keep talking, or should I keep answering things?
I think we got a few comments piled up, so it'd be good to see what everyone's saying.
Okay, let's see. How did you, Edward Olson asked, how did you set up unit supply and organization? Is it just whatever there are at that point in the game, or does it reflect real unit supply levels? Well, you guys will have to answer that.
Yes, how does it work? Do you want to take that away?
Oh, yeah. Well, the supply works through railways. So the farther you are from the railway, the worse your supply is. Depending, you can use trucks or you can use cavalry to haul it to the front line. That's actually something I'm doing right now. I've researched logistics companies to try and reduce this strain on my supply lines. And I can now add them to my divisions over here in the recruit and deploy screen. And especially the Panzer divisions are going to require a lot of supplies. So I'm going to add a logistics company, and that's going to reduce some of the supply use, which is right here, fuel usage and supply use.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So I'm going to save that. From now on, my tank division should be less heavy on my supply lines, and I'm pushing them actually through the gap I've smashed over here and try and exploit that.
Milarovo was a really important stuff back in the traffic jam days. Taking Milarovo and taking that area and taking the rail junction there is major importance.
You can see the junction here actually, which is what I'm pushing now, because that will really deteriorate his supplies over here and make it easier for me to eliminate Stalingrad.
Yeah. Now, so in real life, you started those attacks a little later in January. Well, I don't know what day we are at now. But by that time, 1st Panzer Army and 17th Army, all of Kleist's army group, was in general withdrawing towards Rostov so as not to get cut off. Do you think you can reach Rostov and cut them off before and trap them in the Caucasus?
You know, as you see with these arrows, I am trying to do that now. The Caucasus is currently quiet, but I think if I launch one determined assault, I can sweep all the way to Rostov from the south and meet up with my 5th Tank Army coming from the north.
5th Tank Army, 5th Tank and 5th Shock and 2nd Guards were so important in December, and they get really underplayed. I tried to talk about them a lot in the December episodes. I guess everybody will have to wait and see that, but they were yeah.
And the creation of these tank armies was, well, a direct reply to the Panzer armies, and was like, I think the idea was conceived at the start of 1942. And it had a shaky start when the same 5th Tank Army, I believe, attacked up here at Bryansk.
And then they moved down.
Right over here. And it was a complete fiasco because they were facing Hermann Hoff's forces. I'm not sure which army it was. Well, by now you see they've learned. They're pushing through in real life and in the game.
So fortunately, my troops are coming in from the north, and they have started reinforcing this. You can see that initially there was just a few Hungarian troops guarding this.
Which is what there was in real life, and they were overwhelmed. And
they, just like in real life, seem to have also been overwhelmed here. But fortunately, some of the reinforcements from Army Group Center are going to be able to hold this down, I think, for at least another few days. And it is going to come to time, I think, when we need to decide whether or not we want to withdraw these units in the Caucasus. Because if those units stay where they are right now, there is a risk of a complete catastrophe. So it seems that through this game, I'm actually learning what it felt like to be a German commander at that time, because I can see now quite how nervous they might have been.
Oh wait, you're not learning quite how, because if you were a German commander at that time, you would have Adolf Hitler telling you, no, you're not retreating no matter what. Sorry, you're not withdrawing. You're just not doing it.
You know,
but we're dying.
India, I have to say, you know, as demanding at times as you can be, that we make sure we do all the history right and correctly. I've never felt that listening to you has been as hard as it must have been for Germans to listen to Adolf Hitler while they're trying to command this front. So I have to say, I'm very glad I have you in my ear. Yes, so what I've just done over here is I've created a fallback line. I was hoping not to tell that so the Soviets could find out, but I've decided that it's perhaps best to try and hold some of the territory along the river over here, and somewhere in the forests up here in the north, which will be a little bit easier to defend than the vast open steppe. Now, I'm going to see if that works out, but if nothing else, I'm a little bit closer to my escape route. So we'll have to watch and see how that happens.
Is a key.
And India, I might also add that there are a few more questions and comments in the Special Paradox channel. I've also sent you a few as direct messages. So
the special episodes on tanks have been awesome. They have. You can thank Chieftain for those because that's his wheelhouse. He is awesome. Hopefully, I'll see him actually in December. So I'm going to go to Houston over Christmas and New Year's, and he'll be. We might meet up in College Station or something. Okay. Will we get a video detailing the current organization and structure of the U.S. military? By current, if you mean 2021, no. If you mean 1942 or 43 when it rolls around, likely not. Not because that wouldn't be interesting, because that would be very interesting. But if we do one, we'd really have to do all. And we don't, as it stands, have the editing time, the research time, and the resource time to physically make videos detailing the current organization and the structure of all of the various warring armies. But it's a great idea, though. I would like to do something like that. The question was this. Did they set up? The question was, Sparty says about the supply thing. Did you set up supply as in history? Did you do the research for all of it? You said you didn't want to spend a day doing research for that, which makes sense.
So Hearts of Iron has actually done a really good job in this new update. They've added a whole new supply system focusing all on railways and things like that. And then obviously the DLC makes that even more interesting to use. But although those railways themselves, Paradox has made a huge effort to make them as historically accurate as possible in terms of kind of where the main supply lines and lines of communication were in history. In our setup over here, like we said, we didn't have weeks to research this, so we just kind of gave a rough illustration.
I had weeks to research it. I've had years to research it.
Yes.
Well, no, I get you. Let's see. Are you guys interested in doing a video series on Victoria Cross winners in World War? See, again, questions like that say, oh, are you going to play favorites for this side? Why don't we, if we did winners of British medals, we'd have to do winners of Italian medals and German medals and Chinese medals and Japanese medals. And again, it'd be super interesting, but no, we don't have the time and we don't have the money to do that. It's not a bad suggestion. It's a great suggestion. I just wish we were able to do it. Let's see. Let's see. Let me check out this one here. Nope. Will we see an Operation Infection episode? We don't do specials on individual battles and stuff. You might. It's something it'll be covered, but it might be covered more on our day by day. Well, Zitza might be doing that. But we're not there yet, so can't say. Is there going to be a video regarding the puppet states Germany set up within occupied Poland, Baltics, and Ukraine? That kind of question is something you should ask Spartacus, because the puppet regimes were more responsible for those ones, for at least the German part of the war against humanity. So that is something you should ask him and take him up on it, because I cannot answer that. Let's see. Special on. You guys go ahead and talk. I'm looking up some more questions.
Yeah,
okay?
by now things have heated up in the Caucasus. We've noticed his retreat. I'm chasing him closely.
You noticed her retreat. How did you use your intelligence to find out about that retreat?
Well, there is an entire intelligence agency you can set up in the game. I haven't.
Oh,
but
yes.
If I press create agency over here, I can. Well, it already names it the NKVD. And I can choose a symbol. Let's choose this one. And
I do have to say though, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I am actually quite happy with how the fresh forces and the kind of reserves that I've been able to send down around Milarovo have been able to slow down the attacks, if nothing else.
That's because that's pretty key. You could lock up all of Army Group A and half of Army Group B and done right there. Otherwise.
I just want to try keep this corridor around Rostov open, and then I'll be able to really bleed out as many Soviet advancing units as possible. And if nothing else, I can slow that down and kind of make sure that we retreat in an organized manner. So I'm looking forward to it. And actually at Milarovo, I have been able to create somewhat of a successful attack on this kind of open plain. I see the Soviets are trying to reinforce that, but I'm going to pin them down with some of my tanks that just arrived in the area, and we'll see.
Yeah.
If that will be enough.
Now, what's going on in the fight in the Operation Winter Storm towards Stalingrad? Has that failed, or is that still continuing? I see the red
there are still some half-hearted attacks going in towards Stalingrad, but it does look like the Soviets have been able to defend that. It seems like
you got about as far. Yeah, you got about as far as they did in general. Although just to the northwest of the river, where you've got that tank there, that the Soviets actually ended up taking that and to the north. So you've done pretty well in that area compared to what was really happening the first 10 days of December 1942, because the Soviets were down.
Oh, I'm flattered.
The Cheer and the Lower Don, and down at Richovsky and stuff. So have managed to hold that, which is pretty good.
We have got two divisions in the south at Elista. They've been caught in their retreat and encircled by our cavalry.
Yeah,
that's
again. It does seem like a lot of encircling is happening on the German side over here. It's quite an irony of fate.
That was a point we haven't mentioned it before, but that was your liaison point between Army Groups A and B. That was really a communications thing for you. So it's going to be trickier for your forces to really, well, in real life, I assume in the game as well, to really, for Army Groups A and B to talk to each other as effectively with the loss of Elista.
Yeah, well, I hope that we'll be able to fix that. Sitze, while we have you here, actually, we've gotten a lot of questions about the World War II Day by Day Instagram. We've started doing it on the community tab too. So I'm just wondering, what's your process for kind of making those?
While you talk about that, I'm going to take a break for like 2 minutes. I need to visit the gentleman's lounge, and it's been an hour, so that seems like a perfect time for me to do so. Okay.
Sure
So
thing.
play the
Absolutely.
gentleman's
We'll
lounge
keep
music.
everybody entertained here.
Play the music.
Okay, well,
The
so
gentleman's lounge.
cue the music, cue the music. Yeah, what I do, well, the day-by-day series, which is now also appearing on the community tab if you don't fancy the social media. And my process is basically to, well, check out the scripts Indie writes every month, and see what gaps there are in his coverage. So if I see that there's not a lot of attention for, well, Guadalcanal, or well, there was a lot of attention for All Main, but I figured why not do a day-by-day coverage of it. Well, I reserve the time. I check out what's happening elsewhere, and well, I fill those gaps. And for that, I use well, all kinds of sources on the internet, a lot of ebooks. So yeah, I really
Yeah,
have my
I
own
mean, we get a lot of the
research
time
progress.
comments asking, you know, why hasn't there been more attention to Regev, or you know, what's going on in China, you know, the Kokoda track, and you know, a lot of the time we actually make like an editorial decision to say, look, I mean, the episodes are already getting 20 minutes long, sometimes even pushing on like 22, and that's obviously possible because so many of you guys have just been so incredible about, you know, making this massive project that is this channel possible. But still, you know, there's only so much time that a YouTube video can really cover. And so when we sit down and we look at exactly what we're going to do, because we do that a few weeks in advance, we also have that conversation with Sitse, and we say, you know, what are some of those gaps that you're able to fill? So if you guys are interested in what's happening Regev or the Kokoda track or Guadalcanal, all of that is going to be on the community page on YouTube, and is going to be on the World War II Day by Day Instagram.
Yeah, and Facebook even. Yeah, and there's also Indy also writes to me every now and then. Oh, can you cover this? Can you cover that? Mostly like the small scale operations as well. So commando operations are a big part of the day-by-day coverage, which are also the most fun to write about. You know, have 3 days.
Yeah, Indy's not here right now, so he can't confirm this, but I'm sure, you know, we can ask him about it when he gets back. But I was speaking to him a few weeks ago when we were doing one of our shooting sessions, and he was telling me how the challenge is never to, you know, how do you cover everything, or how do you, I guess, like include all the information. The challenge is actually how to get those scripts to a manageable size to actually be able to edit and film and record them all. Usually, any life cycle of the script, it starts out being an hour long, and then, you know, you have to find a way to make that into like a concentrated piece of thing, which is a really fun challenge, obviously. But
it is also.
I'm back. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm here again. So.
Oh, hello.
But
you catch all that,
Indy? I was interesting listening to you talk about my writing process. That's fine with me. Go ahead. Go to town.
Am I wrong? I'd love for you to chime in on that.
No, you're not wrong. I wouldn't say an hour, because even doing, you know, I'll research. I'll research 4 or 5 episodes at once. Like right now, it's only 3. The ones I'm currently writing Monday, Tuesday, well, during this week, are January 22nd, January 29th, and February 5th, 1943. And I'm doing those 3 for a reason, because that's, spoiler, that's the fall of Stalingrad, the fall of Veliki Luki, the end of Guadalcanal. So it's really putting those and putting them together in a group. I usually do more than 3 at once. What's interesting, though, is deciding how much of which theater to give in each episode, because there's some really important stuff happening in North Africa at that time, like really affecting Eisenhower's command and Eisenhower's ability to command, and the problems between the British and the Americans, and especially between the French, who feel really let down there, and they have pretty good reason to by the end of January. Spoiler. But how much of that can I really talk about when I have to talk about the last days of Stalingrad, when I have to talk about the Japanese evacuation from Guadalcanal? And that's the trick, is to try and figure out, to give time where time is due. That's much harder than deciding what goes in and what doesn't go in, because everything goes in. It's just how much depth does it go into. But then again, I have 52 weeks of the year, so you know, if I can't cover something. Somebody complained about the November 20th episode, the episode that came out last Saturday. They're saying, how can it only be like 3 minutes talking about the beginning of Operation Uranus? You know, it's one of the most important things of the war and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but It started on the 19th. That was the northern pincer attack, the 19th. The southern pincer attack, the 20th. That was a few hours ago. It becomes important next week and the week after. It's important only that the attack started this week. There's not much more that I say. I already talked about all the planning in the special episode and stuff, so no point talking about that again. So I think people don't quite realize that just because something's not talked about this week doesn't mean it's going to be ignored. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is the longest World War II documentary in all time, so I think we're going to get around to just about everything.
We're going to get around. Wait, I got some questions here. Do you guys think about covering Yugoslavian War in 1991, 1995 for Time Ghost? No, we don't. And it would be interesting and it would be good, but that is a personal thing, since, you know, I have no issue with any of the various players in there, the Serbs, the Croats, the Bosnians, the Albanians, the Slovenians, whoever. But whenever we even mention the Balkans, we have to close the comment section. And how can we do an interactive documentary with a comment section closed? And we have to close it because it's disgusting. It becomes horrible. It's the extremists on different sides. It's not the main bulk of people are happy to have a nice discussion about history, but we can't do an interactive, and that is part of what we do. It's not just chronological; it's also interactive. We can't do that if we can't interact, and that prevents us from interacting. So no, we're not going to do that as things stand now. We'll be doing a mini series on French post-World War II colonial wars for Time Ghost. That's a different thing. That's interesting because as I don't know the name of the person, but as the years they wrote, 1945 to 1962, and you see de Gaulle a lot in that, and him coming to power again, and particularly thinking that, you know, Algeria wasn't a colony. Algeria was part of France. You might think, nah, it counts as it's like Alaska is part of the United States. It's not a colony. It's what Algeria was to France. So when you think about the loss of Algeria and the loss of that would be a very interesting documentary series. I can't say we will do it, but I would be very interested in doing it. And yep, I'm going to keep fixing my collar in my Doc Holiday shirt.
You know, it's funny, Indy, that we get that question about the Yugoslavia and the Balkans, and I'd like to chime in on that actually, because I'm coming to you guys live right now from Sarajevo, and I've spent a lot of my life in former Yugoslavia, in fact, most of my life here. And it is a shame because I think, you know, there's a lot of very interesting historical stuff to cover there and a lot of things that are very important to cover. But one of the biggest challenges we do have is moderating the comment section when things like that happen. And actually, just as you began talking about that, Indy, I got a few messages from some of my friends over here who are watching the live stream right now. And as soon as you brought up that issue, they all sent me how funny they found it, because obviously on a day-to-day basis, we know just how difficult that can be over here.
I mean, I'm just reading the comments. I'm not there. I'm not having to listen to extremists from a variety of sides, I will say. It's not just like these guys are bad and these guys are good. People, you said like, your country's a made-up country. All countries are made-up countries. You know, that's like history doesn't happen in a vacuum. All countries are made-up countries. You know, there's no natural country that's Okay, let's see. What do I think about the Battle of the Bulge? Did Germans have a chance with the offensive in 1944? Come on, I'm not going to cover something here that I haven't got to on the war. Mainly not because I'm worried about breaking the timeline or anything, but the parts of the war that I've already written, I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and writing and reading into. I have done far, far less for the parts of the war I have not written. And I don't want to say something about the Battle of the Bulge now that I might regret when we get to it, you see? So that's why I'd really rather only talk about parts of the war that we have covered, or like December, January, February 1942 and 43, that I've done tons of reading about, that I'm in the middle of writing, that are fresh in my mind that we are going to cover. Okay, so what's going on with the battles right now? There seems to be things happening. You seem to be moving through the Caucasus.
Yeah, we are plowing forward through the Caucasus now. We're not really gaining any encirclements. They're escaping our traps. We are moving into Novorossiysk now, which is a nice supply.
You think you can take Novorossiysk? Because that's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, they've evacuated actually. They've retreated,
Okay,
I think, behind the river over here into Crimea.
Yeah.
Either way, a victory for us. Although we are having a true meat grinder up here at Minerovo. We're just attacking each other, not really pushing anyways. So we're both looking to the flanks
I would
now
actually
as well.
just like to interject over here, Vo. I take offense with the term plowing through them. I think what you're seeing over here is very organized, very tactical retreat. We're going to be back any day now. I'm pretty sure that by the end of this live stream, the Ural Mountains over here will probably be in German hands. So, you know, while it's perhaps
Stalingrad's in German hands. Stalingrad's still in your hands, yes?
It is. Friedrich Jose Paulus here is holding out to the bitter end, so we thank him for that.
And you stopped the attacks on Stalingrad, Sitze, for the time being? Or
yeah, well, we've reduced the pocket to the actual city. I don't want to throw my Don front against, the fortified city, the fortified perimeter, so I'm going to starve them out a little more. I see they're still trying to reach them from the west. So I want to seal that off still before I actually.
That's vulnerable. That area where the blue meets the red, the Don and the Cheer rivers there. That is a pretty crucial area to take if you can.
Yeah. No. So we're now holding on. He's still attacking with the Spencer formations here, but we are creeping up on him from the south now. So I think I can hold this for now until we're at the banks.
You're really creeping up, you know, a nice slow creep, because that's nice really the fastest I think that you're able to advance right now, Sitze. But you know,
just to wait until the red cavalry is broken through.
By now, Party asks, hang on, got a question here. Napalm Party asks, will Time Ghost cover the Arab-Israeli wars, especially 1970 Yom Kippur Wars, since 6-Day War was already covered in the Sabaton channel? That's the kind of things we do cover. I really, really enjoy doing the Suez Crisis. I think that's definitely one of the best things we've ever produced. And it's an interesting topic, but those episodes came out a lot more interesting, a lot tighter than I had expected them to. I thought they were going to be good, but they were really great. If you haven't seen that, that's one of the Time Ghost things that I'm most proud of. That, Cuba and Indonesia. For the smaller things, I think the second version of Cuba really nailed it. Maybe. Again, I would be interested in doing that. That's also something that we have. You don't have to lock the comments down, but you have to heavily moderate the comments. People have to really. We have to have people on it all the time because you get evil, just plain evil there, and you have to ban people from evil. It's our channel. I'm not going to have the comments hijacked, which some people have a problem with that we don't allow our comments to be hijacked. Say, what about freedom of speech? Yeah, well, what about my channel? You know, sure. But keep questions coming. They've got, I don't have any at the moment for me, I don't think. But I might have. But you guys carry on.
Yeah, we are. Well, you know, I think that actually the situation in the south, as ironic as it might sound, seems to have stabilized. The good thing of this game is that rivers are actually pretty strong defensive positions. And so I'm taking up positions here in the river, and I think that Soviets are really going to struggle to break through over there. But obviously,
well, that's a major river, too. I mean, the Don's bigger than the Terek. It's bigger than the Terek.
Yeah, this is right at the end of the Don as well. So it's really when it's flowing the strongest, which is important.
Or is it the beginning? No, it's the end.
Good to know too is that the fighting has reached Voronezh now. We are attacking on both flanks. 5 divisions are in the city. They still have a link across the. What river is this? This is the Don, the upper Don, I think.
Yeah.
And we're at the point of linking
in Voronezh. Yeah, you're still on the Don. Yeah.
So Golikov is not so stupid after all. He's doing all right. Here he is.
Yeah.
And well, as you can see, we've advanced in the north and are attacking across the Don over here to try and seal the encirclement.
Now, as in real life, you know, the Voronezh meat grinder was pretty big back in July when Fall Blau really got going. And it was a great distraction of tying down a lot of Axis troops that could have gone south and really could have helped out towards Stalingrad or the Caucasus. But when the Voronezh offensive gets going in January, Voronezh falls, I think January 24th, might be 23rd, but right around then and stuff. And it falls fairly quickly, which is a surprise because I don't think the Germans were expecting that. Now, what does this mean, all those blue lines?
Over here, yeah, these are my offensive plans. So this is the battle plan. Well, it started out when I was still here. We've almost now reached the line I drew over our objective. Rostov is just is within sight, nearly. I'm not too sure if a link up is going to be plausible because the north is really stalled now. The reinforcements have arrived. There's 11 divisions.
Yeah, you bet your sweet Soviet whatever that the north is stalled.
Duty. Now this is the opposite of what because the fighting in the Kuban and in the Caucasus had less movement, and the fighting up north towards Voronezh had more movement in January and February. So it's interesting that you've got it the other way around.
It is, and I think well, the cavalry corps that's sort of there during the advance, sort of not there because I also had 2 panzer divisions. Well, really swung the balance. His first Panzer army was well away from its supply lines, but I could just reinforce. They gave me really an edge in the beginning, but as you see now, much of units have escaped towards Rostov. And he's gonna have the
I'm becoming a little bit
this,
concerned about the salient that's developed over here on the west side of the Don River. In the approaches to Stalingrad. I was trying to hold that and use that as an opportunity to kind of come into Stalingrad, maybe from the south. But that situation is not looking very comfortable right now, so I'm going to do what I can to retreat.
Now, how does this like when you play this against the computer, when you're not playing against someone, or you're not playing online, or how does it feel?
Well, it's a lot more fun to play against someone else.
That's sure. Totally, yeah. Because then you get to brag when you win.
And you can get. It's the best if you can, well, trash talk each other during the game, as we've done a little.
So you've taken Novorossiysk. That's pretty impressive.
They evacuated. Yeah, I'm right now at.
I mean, you moved there. That's very impressive to take the eastern approaches to the Sea of Azov and stuff. That's great.
And they just gave it to me as well.
I decided that area just wasn't tenable.
You weren't going to stay in the Caucasus all winter anyhow, or on the Terek River.
Exactly.
Even in December, everybody was saying, Hitler, can we please pull back to better defensive lines? Because you were not on defensible lines, which we've just illustrated thanks to Zietz's cunning attack prowess. Question from Derek Clothier. Hi, Andy. I'm curious if there were any... Oh, no, that's not the one I wanted to answer. There was one before that. This is the one. Scott Weber. I'll answer that in a minute. Scott Weber asks, what is the status of Lend-Lease through Murmansk at this time? Are significant supplies arriving through Murmansk? And the reason I wanted to answer this is some people that watch this show, they're really into one front. Like they're really interested in the war in the South Pacific, or they're really interested in Stalingrad and the Eastern Front. And they're not interested in the other ones and how this all ties together. And this is a very important point, how Guadalcanal affected Stalingrad. All through the first half of 1942, when the Germans and the Japanese would meet, the Germans were saying, you really should have an Indian Ocean campaign to seize control of the Indian Ocean, which would, of course, block the approaches to Suez and block the approaches to Iran, and perhaps even cripple the British oil supply at Abadan, right? The Japanese planned to do that, and they had the Indian Ocean expedition with Kido Butai in April. They didn't actually do this because they, Guadalcanal was not supposed to be a 6-month-long war of attrition campaign that cost them dozens and dozens of ships, including battleships and cruisers and heavy cruisers, and above all, irreplaceable flight crews from their naval aircraft and their land-based aircraft. Because they didn't do this, in October 1942, the majority of that month, October 1942, when Stalingrad was on its last legs and was just one step from falling to Jose Paulus, in October 1942, the majority of Lend-Lease supplies that entered the Soviet Union entered through Iran. And we know of the tens of thousands of American rifles and machine guns that were used at Stalingrad. Had that not been possible, the Battle of Stalingrad and, of course, the entire Eastern Front might have had a very different history. So you really, this is a good question, because you really have to see how it really does it all relates together. Guadalcanal prevented the Japanese Navy from doing anything serious in the Indian Ocean. And what could have that done for North Africa? What if Britain could not reinforce Montgomery's 8th Army in Egypt through Suez? I mean, it's hard enough doing it through the Mediterranean. So you don't realize it really is important how it all ties together. So when people write, I just skip over the Guadalcanal parts and watch the Stalingrad parts, I'm like, then you're missing the entire point of this channel, to show that this only happened this way because this happened this way. So that is a very good question, Scott Weber, I thought I'd say. Okay, anyway, back to you guys.
Yeah, you see, it looks like the fighting has extended up north towards the salient by my northwest.
Oh, there's Veliky Luki, yeah. Sure,
yeah. They're trying to pinch it off now. I believe that is an actual operation. Dinkel.
Yeah, I was hoping that a Soviet intelligence would be able to
talk
pick that
a
up
lot.
but...
In late December and early January, you will hear several minutes about Veliky Luki every single week until the surrounded German garrison on January 16th surrenders. And because that and Stalingrad together convinced Hitler that maybe people should be allowed to withdraw once in a while, and the Rzhev salient was probably not a good thing to have, ad infinitum. But Veliky Luki was the first surrender of a surrounded German formation 2 weeks before Stalingrad. So I think even though it's smaller, I think it's very important towards the war, much like the Guadalcanal Stalingrad situation. Yeah.
Well, it does look like the Germans have, well, I spoke too soon. As soon as the camera probably switched to me, that changed. But it was looking like the Germans were making some progress in cutting off this salient here. And I mean, to really have an idea of just how untenable this position is for really both sides, I mean, you can see that there's really only 2 tiles we can advance on over here. Just kind of 2 areas. And that would have this entire Soviet sector completely encircled. And the same is obviously the case around Smolensk over here for the Germans. So, both sides really want to see things change over here.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the north there. I gotta ask the question that I started answering but didn't finish. Daniel Clodia asked, "Hi Andy, I'm curious if there were any standout discoveries in your research that changed your view on aspects of the war or led down a rabbit hole of personal interest." Well, the first and foremost for me and for the entire channel was definitely all the stuff we learned when we were boots on the ground in France. What I was going to say in 1940, but we weren't there in 1940. When we talked to the local people and we could see what the effect that one man could do, like when Charles Hunziker withdrew the elements of the 7th and the 1st French armies, although they were holding their own just fine. These were the middle-aged reserves who were just fine against the panzer armies that could not have swept across France had they been held at Sedan. And that's very interesting because you can see the physical ground. And so it's no theoretical thing. You're looking at, okay, they had to go here. There's no other place they could have gone but here. Tanks can't go through trees. Well, they can, but slowly. But that was the biggest eye-opener for me, the Hunziker thing. And it shouldn't have been an eye-opener, but it is an eye-opener relating back to just what I talked to before, how incredibly interrelated everything is, because it really was all the way back in, during the Great War, even though communications were a lot slower and took time, and it wasn't as much coordination between allies as you might think in later wars. But you really do see, as Astrid calls it, the interconnectedness of everything with this war. I also didn't realize how devastating the Burma campaign was until I started doing research on that. I thought that was, I don't think anything's a sideshow, but as close to a sideshow as you have, and then realizing that was a major meat grinder that could have led to the fall of India had it been handled differently. That's things like that, So there's still, every month there's things that I learned that I'm like, gee, I didn't, and especially when you put things together from different sources and realize a connection that maybe people hadn't made, like the Hunziker calling them back at night when they had been holding it just fine during the day and announcing to the French, no, we were not able to blow the bridges, so that's why they crossed the bridges and we called them back. That's a lie. I've been in Sudan. I can physically see the bridges. You can physically see where they were blown and rebuilt. That's still in all the French school books, that the bridges, they failed to blow the bridges and that's why they crossed. It's a lie. It's not true. You can physically see the bridges were blown. So stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, back to the action.
Yes, well, it's getting a little bit dirty here. Rostov is under heavy attack right now. Oh, let me make sure that's visible. Yeah, Rostov is under very heavy attack right now. And this is a very important supply hub. You can see there's railways.
You have to hold Rostov
here. If Rostov falls, I have a very narrow and very difficult to defend corridor through which I need to basically withdraw these troops to Voroshilovgrad. Now, I'm hoping I can stabilize the battle over here. But if that isn't possible, then I'm really going to have to start pulling things back. Because if I see that Rostov is about to fall, that's game over here for the southern front.
How is it looking for the guys in Stalingrad? Oh, there. Wow. So, yep, that's still
Stalingrad is surprisingly still holding, and we're actually trying to get access to this airfield over here. We're not using planes today because we want to make it simple for all the people who haven't played before. But I feel like symbolically having this airfield would be a big boost for morale for all these poor divisions stuck here in Stalingrad. So we're going to try and make some attacks there.
This is really fun.
And at Rzhev, there's news from Rzhev. The Germans tried to pinch off the Veliki Luki salients. So we thought let's pin them down at Rzhev. And that's turning out to be quite a successful attack. We're attacking from 3 sides.
Yeah.
And we
another Operation Mars.
The next day. Another, yes. It's very limited one against just the city. Similar to the final stages of the summer battle. And it's Konev who is leading the attack over here. You can see that Konev is in charge.
Oh, yeah, he was pretty competent, yeah.
He's one of our most capable guys out here in the field.
Yeah, sure.
And well, he's reducing the salient, not by a pinching off attack, but just attacking at the very head. And so far it's looking good. I think we can take the city within the next couple of days.
You think Rzhev is going to fall?
I think that's a little bit arrogant of you, but I'll allow you to have that kind of false fantasy if it helps the morale of your troops.
Taking Rzhev would be as much a symbol of Soviet victory as, well, not as much, but nearly as much as taking Stalingrad. That's if you took it now. What does it say? What day or year or month we are? Where are we now? Oh, we're still in 1942 because we didn't set the date right. Whatever.
Yeah, and the month. Yeah, we didn't actually start in November or December. It was in March, I believe. So the timeline is a bit off. But usually.
So this is still 3 months. So had you started in November, this would be mid-February. It's okay. Well, yeah, that's okay. Interesting.
Yeah, quite a few months have already passed. And I'm actually quite shocked at how accurately this has all played out so far. I mean, for the most part, this is, really kind of how it went down. I mean, the Germans were just about to get out.
His Voronezh attacks that you stopped really did. They launched the third battle of Kharkov, which was a major thing, which you've prevented that from happening. And Stalingrad, of course, still exists, even though they're going to have to die at some point. And you've also prevented him from taking that area north of the Don, which the Southern Front very much did take. So he's done great in the Caucasus because the Axis kept the fighting in the Kuban for a while, and still pulling back to Rostov and keeping that corridor alive. You have not smashed the Hungarians. You haven't smashed the Italians, which you did do in January 1943 in real life. And but this is really, really, really grippingly accurate for what the forces you're sending, for where you're sending them and stuff.
It's very gratifying. I mean, we spent a lot of time setting up this map and setting up these front lines and the troops, and we tried to kind of create the army groups and Soviet fronts as true.
I got you and stuff. I got you.
And it seems like that balance of forces is really being represented pretty historically accurately here right now.
What's going on up even further north in Leningrad? It's just quiet up there.
It's a little bit quiet.
Because in January 1943,
well.
but in January 1940, break the siege. They break through the siege, so they can actually feed Leningrad a lot. Like before, you've got over frozen, Lake Ladoga there to the northeast of Leningrad. You can bring food across that because that still holds, but that's iffy. But they open a corridor, which they call the corridor of death because it's under German shell fire. But like Leningrad the siege can be broken through, not broken, but they're at least. I mean, you're looking at like 500,000 or 600,000 people died in Leningrad in 1942 from starvation or exposure or German artillery or whatever have you and stuff. So they have a slightly brighter future as 1943 gets going.
It is all quite stressful, but looking over here, I can see that the 13 German divisions, which might be a little bit much historically speaking, but they are very poorly supplied over here. So were the Soviets to attempt an attack over here, as exciting as it might be for all our viewers tuning in right now, it would certainly make me feel quite uncomfortable. And it makes me think I might perhaps want to try a few attacks against Leningrad myself and see if I can take that city before the Soviets can realize the gap in my front line over here.
Hey, you guys. I just want to tell you that Time Ghost has unlocked an achievement. According to our fans, Chieftain wrote to me. The fans have voted in the live stream, and it is official. Spartacus has a better mustache than Semyon Budyonny. Congrats on a lifetime achievement. That's pretty impressive. Oh, that's Nick. No one's keeping this.
I think that's a mandate right there from the people that we're listening to.
Shall I fire Budyonny from his post for this humiliating loss?
I think
can we get a mod where we can replace Budyonny with Spartacus? Can we get Paradox to make that into an Easter egg, maybe?
We probably could. No, really, we probably could. You can have an update where Spartacus also replaced Semyon Budyonny. So
I'm sure that one of the 1,500 people listening right now will maybe take a look into that, but let's see how that goes.
So let's look at the fighting for. Okay, you've got the salients up there. I'm still curious because since ostensibly this was about Little Saturn and the fighting for Stalingrad, right? So let's keep our focus down to the south, even though it is interesting. See look how far away you are now from Stalingrad. Let's zoom in up there.
I think I've been getting a lot of messages from Paulus asking if he can break out, if he can try and retreat, if he can surrender. And obviously he can't do any of those things. But once I've saved up a little bit more command power, which is a value in this game you can use to make military decisions, I might try and promote him to a field marshal. Because we all know that no German field marshal has ever surrendered.
Hey, here's a question, though. Here's a very important question. Sitsa, how many divisions do you have, or how many armies and divisions do you have attacking Stalingrad right now?
Well, they're not actually attacking, but the Don.
No, but around it, how many are there?
24 at least, and then it looks like 10 more, so like 35 divisions.
And see, if Jose Paulo surrendered, those divisions would be free to fight elsewhere, which is another big reason why in January Paulo did not surrender, because with all of the Soviet attacks going off against Voronezh and the Southern Front attacks in Caucasus and everywhere, why suddenly give them another 5 armies that they can devote somewhere else by surrendering? It really...
So perhaps it is time to start reducing the pocket then, and free up.
I don't agree. I think you should really wait it out. I don't know if I would feel so safe moving on.
They look pretty weak to me.
These are some strong troops over here. Perfect fighting position.
I don't have any more questions. Nick, do you have any more questions for me? And writing to me the last few stuff. And of course, Spartacus asked me to fix my car. Oh, that was a while ago though. So, yeah.
Sitsa, if you want to take away on your screen,
I'll
take a few. Look at Slack, and I'll see if I can send over a few more questions from the chat.
Okay, take over his screen, and sure, you get another half an hour or so. So this is things are looking, they're looking good for the Soviets, but realistically, by February they were kind of looking this good roughly in general for the Soviets anyway, because Stalingrad had been reduced and you had those armies, and you're fighting at Kharkov, and there's the Rostov fighting and Izium and everything. So this is pretty accurate. This is it's very well done.
Indy Robo Cheez-Its asks, World War II, have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with other history YouTubers? Examples, Armchair Historian, Tick, etc. So in that etc, I'm sure Mark Felton's included in all sorts
we've done collaborations
like
with the Tank Museum Bovington. Of course, we talk with the Chieftain. We do specials with the Chieftain. We had originally, when the series, I'm sorry, when the series started, we did have plans for this to be more multi-channel, but that's trickier because once you get, I mean, with the Great War, we did plenty of collaborations with C and Arsenal, with Othayas and stuff. And I liked the weapon specials, and they were good, and the live streams were fun, and they were fine. But you also got to remember, we were being financed by Mediacraft, which is a major network and stuff. So there wasn't a big question about revenue sharing and time and things, and this, which it's trickier than you think, shall we say. I have no issues with working with other YouTubers. It depends who, because many military or many historians, they're great historians and they do great history, but they also have a specific political agenda that they are trying to push. And we try, I don't know if we succeed, but we certainly try not to do that. I mean, we intentionally have people from all over the political spectrum, from left to right, working with us, because we don't want to get locked in some kind of bubble where we are putting modern political ideas on events of the past and judging them really like that. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's a sticking point. Is when personal politics and modern politics affect someone's historical coverage. Well, for me anyway. So
yeah.
Let's see what I got. Hey Andy, how hard was it to learn Swedish? Det var inte så svårt. Nej, det var inte alls svårt. När jag kom till Sverige 1996, jag har en ganska stark brytning såklart. Men när jag kom hit, efter typ ett år, jag var på typ Migrationsverket och jag gjorde intervjuer på svenska efter ett år. Det var inte bra, du vet, jag säger fel hela tiden, men jag kan klara mig på svenska. Så it wasn't, I don't think it was that hard, even though I've got a pretty strong accent and everything. Did that make any sense to you guys? See, so that must have made sense to you. Yeah?
Well, that's a bold statement. Dutch and Swedish. I
understood every word of it, and I agree with whatever you said completely.
Well, we have someone cover the small arms and planes in World War II, like we've done with the tanks. Yeah, we do have plans for increasing the hardware specials. That's something that we have been a little more lax on than any of us had wanted, but that's just the way circumstances worked out. I definitely want to, I know they're very nerdy and very niche, but I think they're also important to understand the war, to understand the weapons it was fought with. And why should we ignore the nerds? I'm a nerd. We're all nerds. You guys are nerds. You're all nerds. Everybody who's watching this is a nerd, right? Look at me.
Not a nerd whatsoever. I don't know.
Have you seen your glasses?
Shots fired.
Okay.
This game, this job, I don't know what about it says nerd.
This game has dropped. It has a DLC. This dropped on November 23rd, 1942.
And somebody asked if I could do the Churchill impression. So
Palpatine?
Pardon? I didn't have a
stroke.
It was Churchill time. Somebody questioned Napalm Party. Woo, Napalm Party. Asked if I could do a Churchill impression. You are doing very well there with your southwestern and Voronezh front penetrations. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm really cleaning up the Don band now. I've
Yeah.
reorganized that the southwestern front has taken position over here, the Stalingon front over here.
Yeah.
Well, reorganizing. We've got an unexpected push across the, what's this river again? The Donets, I believe it is.
The donuts.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a
The
bridgehead over
donuts.
it. It wasn't really planned, but they're really counterattacking it now. Well, obviously because it's directly threatening Rostov. Not sure
I
they're
like
gonna
that
hold on to it.
you're not super like when the Soviets did these attacks in January and February, and towards Kharkov and further north and everything. They were seriously overextended, which why not? It was hubris and stuff. But you don't seem to be overextended. You got that salient, but you seem to be holding your own.
Yeah, if anything, the reduction of this entire bend is really short of my front line. So I'm just reorganizing all the forces now, and it looks
But
like
you
a
have to
direct
remember,
push.
CJ,
Yeah.
for the Germans
What
themselves
defenses
too.
do you have in Rostov, Ian? What do you have in Rostov?
Right now we have 1 Panzer division and 3 infantry divisions. I'm going to try and reinforce that with another tank right now.
Sorry
We'll
about
see
the
how that
coughing.
works out.
Okay. Because
But what I was going to
important.
say is, much like the Soviets themselves, we have also had our front line shortened, and because we were able to withdraw our forces from southern Russia mostly intact, I do
Yeah.
feel like this is going to begin stabilizing once we hit some kind of natural defensive barriers.
Well, getting Army Group A, if you had been encircled in the Caucasus, that's disaster. That's catastrophe, and you avoided that. And that's
Although
cool.
breaking
Proud of
news,
myself.
Rzhev has in fact been liberated by the Red Army.
No
The steady
way.
push
Really?
has pushed them back. The salient is not what it was.
Okay. Wow. Wow. What did you use to do that?
Manpower. And if anything,
Manpower. That's your go-to thing. Okay.
yeah, well, a lot of people easily state that it's, human wave offensives that won the Soviets the war, but it's just not the case. Although the place where that was maybe the most true, the human wave tactics would be Rzhev, where it's just
but it really was.
like every
That
day.
those were the World War I human wave tactics, which were, to be honest, fought heavily to the north of the Pripyat marshes in the Great War. So it was just continuing a noble tradition of sending men out to their deaths.
Yeah, which is also well, a bit of a stain on Kornev and Zhukov, that they would, they seem like this strategic geniuses, but their taking of Rzhev was a very uninspiring, very uninspiring offensive. Really, it didn't facilitate at all. So, well, yeah, the most brilliant commanders were not very brilliant at Rzhev.
Wait, before you stop zooming and unzooming and stuff. So go back to Rzhev.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do to eliminate the salient? And don't zoom in and zoom out. Just focus for a second. What are you going to do to get rid of that whole German salient? Are you going to get rid of that?
The thing
can
is,
you encircle them, or is it too much?
Yeah, I could encircle it, but it looks like the base of a salient is quite strong. It has the Smolensk railway hub behind it. The forces are well supplied. There's this, well, the river here. I think it's the Dwina. What is it? It is not.
I don't remember, to be honest.
It's a natural barrier here. There are forests over here. My strength is not great. I don't have a lot of striking
That's
power.
basically as it was at Rzhev and Smolensk. The idea that Operation Mars and then Operation Jupiter were going to actually reach all the way to Smolensk by the end of 1942 was just a pipe dream. Right. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. So, and they all got encircled and destroyed. You had the Belov group and the Northern Pincer. They were all wiped out in 42. So yeah, that felt pretty big. But I do have this striking group under Cherevichenko that I used to stop his push over here.
So he's way north now. Okay, because we're used to seeing him like at Kiev and stuff, like last year.
Yeah, I had him in my pool and I didn't use him, so I thought his skill can be used up here. So I'm sending him.
We've actually.
No, yeah. You go ahead.
No, I just want to say we have had a few super chats come in, so if you've got time for a couple more questions, we have two.
Yeah, sure. Wait, hang on.
Burns
Give me like 40 seconds. Hang on a second. Hang on. Cat-related issue.
Cat-related issues. Do you have a pet, CJ?
My parents do have a young puppy, so well, I'm not there always, but when I am, it's well, he's always happy to see me. Do you?
Yeah, my mom has 2 dogs. I grew up with them, but obviously now I don't see them as much because I don't live there. But they're 2 German Spitzes, which are perhaps some of the loudest, most heavily barking dogs that you can get. But they're very small, very fluffy, and very cute looking. So
It was,
nice.
but you weren't there for like 2 years, right? So did they, recognize you? Were they excited when you got back?
I thought they wouldn't, but the older one, well, really melted my heart because he, came in and he kind of looked at me and he, was a bit confused, and then he just sat down on the couch and he cuddled up right next to me.
Ah,
You know,
that's sweet.
you could tell, something in the genes too, I guess, probably have like a similar scent or pheromones or whatever to my mom. So yeah, that's what we talk about, Indy.
A couple of questions here. That's okay.
Yeah.
Talking about cats and the meaning of life. Zevin asks, what is the meaning of life? Is Schrodinger's cat alive or dead? And the answer to both of those questions is yes and no. Okay? No?
No? Indy, somebody else sent in a super chat asking, and so I just wanted to see if we could get back to it. But they asked, in your spare time, do you read lots of biographies about World War I and World War II, or is it not your cup of tea?
In my spare time? I don't read that in my spare time. That's my job. In my job, I read lots of biographies about World War I and World War II. Well, now World War II, because I'm writing World War II. In my spare time, I don't do anything that's involved with World War II, because then it would be work, so it wouldn't be spare time. You know what? Okay, here's dedication. In my spare time, one of my hobbies, I play pinball, right? And we have a private pinball club that I'm a member of here in Stockholm. We've got like 50 tables in our locale. On Wednesdays and Saturdays we play pinball, and I don't mind missing that. But today, it's the Swedish pinball championships in Borås, and I cannot be there because I'm here doing this with you. So I will not be able to compete for Swedish pinball champion until next year. So that's what I do in my spare time. Things like pinball.
Oh, it's interesting. And to everybody asking us to show the total number of casualties, I just put that up on the screen too.
Where do you see that?
Again. Yeah, so if you come up to, should we switch to me over here on the, there we go. Come up to the "We Are at War" notification in the top. You can see the German-Soviet War. It's a very interesting name for this war, but we have 410,000 casualties for the German Reich and 86,000 for the Soviets. So
see, that's very different from how it went. Having said that, that's interesting that the Soviets have far fewer deaths. Why do you suppose that is?
Well, we've encircled a bunch, so they've been, destroyed. The casualties also include, of course, the prisoners we've taken. And Stalingrad is now also being massively reduced, so about half of the divisions there have already surrendered. There's not one massive surrender, they're surrendering piecemeal. So that's rapidly increasing his casualties.
And I do have to admit that as far as, my training in military academy and officers training has gone, which is playing this game, I have not implemented that very well, because I've spent a lot of my time attacking rather than defending. And instead of taking kind of better positions, I've been trying to really just hold them back through attack, and I think that has cost me a lot of casualties as well.
But now the initiative have definitely passed to the Soviets, and I see that Sitsa, you have several offensives planned. Yes.
Yes, I've been really while he's pressing his attacks against my lines, I've really been preparing some offensives, some directions. I have an armored. My 5th Tank Army is ready in the northern bend of the. Yeah, they're ready to strike south and really take Rostov. While my guards, my cavalry guards who were in the Caucasus, I have transferred them to Voronezh, over here on the northern axis. For now, they're being attacked. There's a large German forces here. But if I take the fight to them, I might be able to steam over these plains towards Kharkov.
Which cavalry guards divisions are those? How many do you have?
Yeah, these are the guys under Gorbatov. Not historically accurate, but it looks like he has 6 actual cavalry divisions,
Okay.
2 motorized divisions and 2 tank divisions, or 3 tank
That's
divisions.
great. I think the guards divisions are the underemphasized and unsung heroes of the Soviet defense and offense in December '42 and January '43. They did so much. They were yeah.
Do you know the difference between them and the guards and the shock troops? Are they the same? Because I've seen them mentioned both. I mean,
Well,
the shock armies.
some of the shock armies were tended to be formed like the Fifth Shock Army, which was fighting with the Fifth Tank Army down towards the Cheer River in December. The Fifth Shock Army had just really been was put together as a shock force. I cannot. I mean, the Guards armies, they have traditions. They're elite units and stuff. The shock armies were put together as the mobile spearheads, which the Guards armies were often as well as stuff. But like Fifth Shock was a new formation. The first Guards, for example, was not a new formation, right?
I see.
And I also just want to chime in here, guys, and say, time clearly flies while you're having fun, because, we've been going at this for close to 2 hours now. And as we kind of start reaching to the end, this does feel like a good point to survey the damage so far and what the kind of campaign has been like, and maybe answer a few more questions. And then maybe
I have a question here from insert alias here asks, have I ever challenged Joachim Brodin in pinball? Joachim is the singer of Sabaton, and he's also a pinballer, and he's played in like the Swedish championships. I don't remember if he was nationally ranked or not, but we've talked. We wanted to have a trip when he comes, because he lives in Norway with his wife, even though he's Swedish. But he was going to come to Stockholm just when Corona hit. And I was going to take him to my favorite steakhouse here, Augia's, AG's, and then bring him to the pinball club and spend the night, because, we open at like 5, and I'll play pinball till 4 or 5 in the morning because it's pinball. And then my arms will hurt for the next 2 or 3 days because it's pinball. But no, I have not challenged him, but but when he comes, we will play a variety of machines together, and I will definitely keep people, we'll absolutely make some kind of a Time Goes public service announcement about me and Joachim Brodin playing pinball together.
That sounds very exciting. I've got a few more over here. I can pull them up real quick. There were super chats, so we always want to try and answer those first. Let me see, I took a screenshot. So we've got that, and Sir Volker Stein asks, what's your favorite type of tea?
Earl Grey.
Good.
That was easy. That's pure and simple. Easy. I'm happy to drink. I like I like oolong, but Earl Grey is my tea if I drink tea.
Yeah.
Something else?
And well, I've got one here. I'm going to send it to you as a screenshot because I think they'd like you to read out this little poem.
You're sending it to me on Slack or what?
I will send it to you on Slack. Yes.
Cool.
Here, I've put it in the channel.
You see my product placement using the mug here. Yeah?
What's the product placement?
Is product placement. I've got my one of our Time Goes Indian Idol mugs. Which which says anyone who isn't confused doesn't really understand the situation. Edward Murrow about World War II. So, and that's true.
Oh, I have it with me as well. Actually, I have it right on my desk.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm at my office where I fight the war right now. I'm not at home at the moment. Okay. So I see I got a message from Ian.
Yeah.
Let's see. Give me a sec. Wizard writes, or sort of asks, "What thou lovest well remains; the rest is dross. What thou lovest well shall not be reft from thee. What thou lovest well is thy true heritage. Whose world, or mine, or theirs, or is it of none?" Wizard. Well, so think of the things that you lovest. A question from Napalm Party again. Am I aware of some memes that spawned from my videos out of context, such as saying, "You are Adolf Hitler," or "I have decided to destroy Yugoslavia"? Of course I'm aware of those. You kidding? Those are great. Wait, the best one of all. The best, and okay, for me it's the best because I'm in it. But if it had been somebody that I thought was cool, you know, like I assume people think sometimes I am, was at the Tank Museum, Bovington, and I'm standing with, it's a picture of me with David Willey, the director of the Tank Museum, and it says, find someone who looks at you. Yeah, it's about love. It says, find someone who looks at you the way David looks at Indy. And if you see the picture, you should be able to find you know, Indy Nidell. It's the best meme ever. It'd be such a good T-shirt. We really should sell that T-shirt. We should ask David Willey for permission before selling that T-shirt. But that's just the look in his face happens to be it's really, it's one of those absolute priceless moments. It's yeah. I'm exceptionally happy with that. Yeah, I got a picture of, yeah, there's Spartacus looking, well, Daniel, can you post this somehow so people can see? Can you post it in the super chat? With Spartacus,
I don't think
with Spartacus as Timoshenko. And not Timoshenko, as well, let's see. Well, do we have any? We have a few more questions before we got to go, because it seems for the moment that the Soviets have the upper hand. How's it going up in Veliki Luki?
Yes, so I have in fact gone on the offensive against the base of the, well, remains of the reserve salient. You see that we're attacking right here and here. Yeah. The attack in the north is seeing a lot of progress. I think we're about to smash through there. Though we have to pin down divisions transferring from Smolensk, from entering the battle. Yeah, so let's expand the attack. I have also opened the attack on the flanks of the Demyansk salient. It's not
okay. I'll find it. Yeah,
losing a lot of men, but it stops them from transferring them south if need be.
And what offensive plans does Ian have for the Germans? Since you guys have been withdrawing and you've lost the initiative, well, how do you regain it?
It's going to become a little bit complicated here. We are trying to maybe break the kind of pressure around Rostov by attacking toward the south, because we seem to have some initiative there. But actually, I want to pause very quickly and take a look over here at Stalingrad, because it seems that Stalingrad is on its last leg. We have 2 divisions left, and it should really only be a matter of days, matter of hours before the city falls. So Friedrich Jose Paulus has obviously done his very best. I wish we could have promoted him to a field marshal earlier.
We promoted him to animal rights activist.
That's quite a promotion, I think. And as you just saw,
there goes Stalingrad. Wow. So now Sitsa has a bunch more. He has a whole bunch of divisions that he can suddenly throw to the west. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And
let's take a look at that.
Think where I'm gonna utilize them, because the Don Band is a bit of a busy strait now, but it looks like we are getting behind Rostov. And we have encircled actually some Panzer divisions, so our breakthrough, Ukraine seems to be open. We are steaming west. For Shilovgrad has 1 Panzer division in it, but is also on its last legs. So truly a breakthrough now. So the reserve army, well, I'm keeping it in reserve for now, see where I'll need them.
Yeah.
And now the choice is either to keep steaming west or take Rostov.
The Soviets were a little distracted, or the Germans were a little distracted looking at comments in the chat. So we did not realize actually this whole encirclement here at Rostov. So I'm sure this will all be fixed. But actually, Indy, very quickly, Wizard also sent another super chat asking if there's any interest doing an episode on T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound, or if there's just maybe some kind of historical commentary you could quickly enlighten us with.
Well, with the Great War, hang on, I'm answering to send this picture to Sitsa so he can put it on Instagram. With the Great War, I did read a fair amount of war poetry in the regular episodes. Poetry in the Great War, it was a much more prevalent hobby pastime of the average soldier. People wrote poems in World War II, or certainly a lot more than they do now. You didn't have radio, you didn't have TV, you'd hang out, you'd write poems. That's what you do. And we talked about several of the poems. We did some specials about different writers and poets. I would very much like to do some bio specials about writers and poets, again, like we did with the Great War. That is something that will not be done for the next 5 or 6 months at least, though, since we have an idea of what we're doing the next 5 or 6 months. I'd love to talk about Ezra Pound. That would be awesome. Particularly, he ended up being, America's official, poet laureate later on. And it's very interesting to see his background. If you don't know Ezra Pound, you should look up Ezra Pound, because a very interesting life, very difficult poems, and that's why it's something that you think would be tricky for that guy to become, America's real poet laureate and stuff. But great poems, but difficult poems. I'd like to do Ezra Pound. That would be something I would very much enjoy. We'll see is the answer, but I'd like to. Yeah. Anything else before we gotta head out into the night?
We have one request from our intern, Nick, who has spent the last 2 hours helping keep this chat safe.
Yeah.
And,
Nick, hey, 10 points to Nick. Thank you, Nick. You've done great.
Thank you, Nick.
Absolutely. And Nick himself actually has, I think, around 2,000 hours in this game. So certainly, certainly the right person to be doing this. But he says this is a special request because we couldn't get him in time. But
okay,
that's a shame. We'll keep doing, I'm sure, little private games, and we'll see if we ever.
What's the special request? What's the special request?
Can you read out the Old Lie poem toward the end of the stream? The Old Lie poem. I don't know if you can look that up.
I don't have it. You'll have to send it to me.
I'll see if I can find it and send it to you in Slack.
Man, we did a lot of Wilfred Owen back in the day,
Yeah, he's one of the greats, though.
I liked Wilfred Owen. Owen's probably my favorite of the First World War poets.
That's private message.
Let's see. Okay, I see you got it there. Okay. Sure. Let's see. I read this during the Great War.
Right.
What?
No, I thought I had the wrong poem. I think that's right.
Now, Wilfred Owen nearly survived the Great War. He died like November 3rd, 1918. I mean, so close, but he was a, I'll read this. This is and the name of the poem is Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. The old lie is what it's called before that. How sweet and decorous it is to die for your country, because to him it was a lie, the disillusionment. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in and watch the white eyes writhing in his hanging face like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie, dulce et decorum est, pro patria mori. It's just fucking brilliant, man.
Beautiful stuff.
You can't argue with Wilfred Owen, man. It was, wow, incredibly hard poems. So, Wow. Well, that's actually a good time to leave. The Stalingrad has fallen. Yes.
Yeah. Should we
The
take a
Soviets.
final kind of post-mortem here, and then?
I don't know. It's leaving with pretty heavy Wilfred Owen is pretty good, you know. So
Yeah.
I get teary. You know, that's well, it's
Well,
true. You
if it
talk
makes
about
you
the
feel any better,
disillusion.
the
Yeah.
Soviets are victorious in Ukraine. We are pushing west. Brighter days are ahead for well, much of Europe. They're not
Then you
still
can have some
committing.
more purges.
Yes. Now that's a positive note, isn't it?
Are purges part of the game? Are you allowed to purge your army units and
It is actually
Not only
a
are
factor. Yeah.
yeah,
As
it's an
the Soviets,
unavoidable
you have
part
to,
of playing as Soviets.
you have to
Okay.
actually eliminate your officer corps, and you have like a massive debuffs of your troops. And well, the war against Finland helps you gain some experience again.
Yeah.
But still, there's a lot of officers gone. You know, Tukhachevsky. You start the game out with Tukhachevsky in
Sure. Oh, wow.
1936.
That's all
Yeah,
brilliant.
but it's your choice who you purge. So that's well, really well made. You can really choose what direction you go. And if you don't do a purge, well, there's an actual risk of civil war. So yeah, purge is a big part of the game.
What happens if you have a civil war? Do you lose the civil war and you get a representative government?
No, it's actually an actual war. So your country just splits in two. And well, you
Oh, and
fight
you
it
have
out
to
like
fight.
much like we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
much like we're doing now. You have to actually win the war against your own countrymen.
You
Well,
can
I'm
actually
gonna
get
wrap
Trotsky
this up
back
for
as
us.
the head of a Soviet.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna wrap this up for you guys. It's Saturday evening, just past 9. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this live stream collaboration, Hearts of Iron sponsorship, and the new DLC, No Step Back, which came out 5 days ago or whatever the 23rd was. And Ian, say your heartfelt goodbyes to everybody.
Everybody, I just want to say how much of a pleasure it's been to have you all, watching us play this game that we all know and love. And really, it just blows us away every time how, passionate you guys are about being a part of this project that is World War II. By far and away, I think you're the greatest community on YouTube and on the internet maybe ever. And so thank you, because you're awesome. And for everybody saying that Steiner's counterattack can fix all of this, I have actually given Felix Steiner control of the entire eastern front, and I have launched a counterattack. And while we won't play this out, rest assured that is going to solve everything. So.
And Zitza, let's see if your goodbye can be as poetic as that.
Well, no, I'm not even gonna try to top that. I just thank you all for watching. Thank you for watching me destroy Ian on this playthrough of this new DLC. I hope I put up a good show. And see you next time.
Yeah, and please get the DLC.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, get the DLC. I mean, you could see this. I mean, those of you guys who've never played this game before, it's super fun. This was really fun, and it really followed the actual path of it. We could watch, Popoff and Mackinson and see them do their stuff and see how it works with the rail hubs and how it worked with Jose Paulus, animal rights activist Jose Paulus, and Stalingrad. Now, this was a lot of fun. I would enjoy doing another one of these, maybe a few months down the line. But we'll keep talking with the Hearts of Iron guys because I've enjoyed working with them both times. One thing that I think is very impressive about Paradox, the company that makes Hearts of Iron, is they happen to be based in Stockholm. So when we did the first collaboration that had to do with Spanish Civil War and the what ifs, the Spanish and the French what ifs, when I went there, there were five historians actually working there, and these are good historians. These guys really know their stuff. So you would expect this, especially after meeting them, and I would expect this to be as accurate as I would want to make it, so that I could put together the Guards armies as Zitza did, and see what 5th Tank can do and things like that. So I was quite impressed because we've set this up and I followed along with it, but I have not played this little Saturn Operation Winter Storm, Voronezh, whatever you want to call it, attack that we set up today. That was intentionally done just like this so that we could see how it works out. And it worked out great. It worked out a little better for the Soviets than it did in real life. Not actually too much better, because you may be more overextended than you think. We shall see.
Yeah.
You guys can continue playing.
Given that overextension, it's really me who won this game today, actually, I think.
We have someone else we'd like to thank as well. Ian, perhaps you can introduce the guy that's doing the streaming for us that Sparty got for us here.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy has came in very clutch, very last minute. We foolishly thought that we could run a stream of this size all by ourselves. And when we realized that the technology was a bit too advanced, his broadcasting studio in Munich sorted everything out for us. Incredible professional, walked us through everything. So thank you very much. And I mean, Andy, you might hear us, you might be in this call. Feel free to say hi to everyone and tell them where they can find you if you want, something like that.
Or you can write into the comments because we're saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this Time Goes public service streaming cast broadcast Saturday evening. For us, I suppose for many of you, it's Saturday daytime. So now you can go and you can study the Bible and you can read your daily plans and your battle for Singapore. And then you can set these things up and you can play against Ian and Sietze yourself. Maybe they'll tell you one day online how you can get hold of them and you can play them, right, guys?
Yeah, we might just do that.
Yeah.
Have a community game.
Okay. Right? We've got a few Discord servers maybe set up, and it could be fun.
All right. Well, that is it for me. So I am checking out. Goodbye, guys. And I would say see you next time, but I will say instead, Excelsior!
See you next time.
Right.
Bye everyone.